ugly, incompetent, and a gold digger. Get out of my sight and get married already. My father hurled these insults at me as I turned 16. What era is he living in? Unable to protest, I ended up married to a man whose face I didn't even know. A loveless, joyless marriage. I was drowning in despair. But life is unpredictable. I never expected a great turnaround. My name is Erica. At 35, I bought Valentine's chocolates for myself. Which made my husband ask, "Nothing for me?" Oh, sorry. I meant to buy something for him when I went to the store. But I got so caught up in choosing mine that I forgot. Next time, I'll get him some fine liquor. Yes, that's what I'll do. Despite my loving home now. I had hated being home as a child since my little sister Claire grew up. Claire was 2 years younger than me and was strikingly beautiful from infancy. Destined to be a beauty as everyone expected. Years later, Claire grew up far prettier than anyone expected. And became a child model upon our mother's encouragement. Yet, she only appeared briefly in local construction-related commercials with other kids. And only her profile was shown in flyers for community events. Her involvement was not what you might call prominent child star status. However, for our parents, even her minor appearances were a source of great pride. They paraded her around like a cherished accessory, showering her with affection. In stark contrast, my parents lost interest in me. Perhaps due to a throwback gene, I inherited my paternal grandmother's robust build. Unlike my sister, who was born with a modern child's delicate frame and slender limbs. Despite eating the same meals and hardly snacking, I was the only one in my slim family who was chubby. Why only me? I often wondered. If only I looked like my sister. I envied her countless times. But even as a child, I knew comparing myself to others was pointless. I am who I am. I should focus on my strengths. But my parents denied my existence. Well, the first child is kind of like a prototype. It turned out very poorly though. My parents once slurred in a drunken stupor during an evening drink. The words I overheard by chance left a lasting shadow over my heart. Making me wonder, am I just a prototype, a failed experiment? My beautiful mother was confident in her looks. And remained appearance-focused at any age. She was critical not only of herself but of others too. She once expressed disgust about a neighbor who went out to throw trash early in the morning in casual wear without makeup. That neighbor was a mother of quintuplets whose husband earned well, but was rarely home. She was frequently visited by her mother-in-law. And I would sometimes hear shouting. Looking back, she was probably being mistreated. Even as a child, I could see she had a hard life. And there was nothing wrong with her no makeup and casual appearance. Rather, I'd like to praise her for doing things around the house properly. In contrast, my mother, who couldn't empathize with others' backgrounds, didn't find me adorable with my unfortunate looks. It felt like a natural progression. As I grew older, the differences became more apparent. While my sister received an allowance, I got nothing. For instance, during meals, she would have dishes rich in meat, while mine were piled high with vegetables, which I also disliked. My father said nothing about my mother's actions. And my sister seemed to enjoy my precarious situation. I had no allies at home. When my sister broke something, she wasn't scolded. But I was harshly punished and always treated as the scapegoat because you're the older sister. Even with clothes, while it's common for younger siblings to receive hand-me-downs. In our house, I would get the clothes my sister deemed unworthy or outgrown. As a result, my clothes were always tight, making me appear even bulkier, providing my classmates with plenty of material for jokes. Despite my mother being the one to dress me in such ill-fitting clothes, she too would laugh at me disdainfully. Being constantly told your sister is cute, isn't she? Darkened what was once a bright personality. Even while interacting with friends, I would think, do they find me ugly too, or maybe they'd rather be friends with my sister? It sounds crazy now, but back then, I was full of such paranoid thoughts. With such a negative mindset, it was no wonder my relationships didn't fare well. My circle of friends gradually shrank, but rather than feeling sad, I preferred to isolate myself. I was tired of doubting others' feelings towards me. It was more comforting to be alone. After this dark period in elementary and middle school, just as I was about to enter high school, a shocking event occurred. It turned out my parents hadn't paid my high school entrance fee. They had never intended to pay high school expenses, preferring to spend money on my sister's dance and acting lessons instead. After my desperate persuasion, they finally agreed to pay. During high school, I studied hard amidst the household chores imposed by my parents. Fortunately, I passed the college entrance exams. I thought everything would be fine now. How naive I was to trust them. They were not my parents, but monsters who had given birth to me. Entrance fee? Oh. I forgot. But it doesn't matter. You shouldn't even bother with college. With your looks, you're not going to have a decent life anyway. My mother said without an apology, and my father and sister laughed uproariously as if it was the funniest thing they had ever heard. Due to the late realization that the entrance fee wasn't paid, I had to give up on college. I could have worked to save money and enter a year later. But I just couldn't bring myself to do it. It felt like burnout. I really studied hard, only to have my path suddenly closed. I don't care anymore, I thought. Even with an education, no one would love me anyway. These dark thoughts became all I could muster. It's strange how negative one can become during adolescence. My parents said, "You're better off not going to college. Now you can focus on the household chores." That made me feel like maybe this is the life for me. I had no motivation to get a job or even think about moving out. Looking back, I was probably on the verge of a mental breakdown. I spent my days like a robot, just doing what my parents told me to do. Then one day, "You're turning 16 tomorrow, right?" my father suddenly mentioned. Yes. It was surprising since he had been ignoring me for so long. His mentioning my birthday made me secretly happy. My birthdays had always been overlooked. But could it be that they would celebrate it this year? Perhaps because I had been diligent with the household chores? A faint hope fluttered in my heart. Then, get married soon. An ugly, incompetent, gold-digger daughter is nothing but a nuisance. Huh? As casually as if he was sending me to the store. My father bluntly forced marriage upon me. I was dumbfounded, unable to speak. And he didn't even look me in the eye as he continued, "Marry him tomorrow." Wait. What do you mean, Dad? There's someone I want to get on good terms with for Claire's career. It seems the son of someone from a talent agency is of suitable age. Why would you rush into marriage like that? At a drinking party, I bragged that my eldest daughter seems to like your son's photo. And it led to a marriage discussion. Feeling a repulsion I never felt before at my father's cheerful demeanor. I was speechless. I'd never seen a photo of this man, and here my father was, smiling while discussing selling his daughter off. After all, it's hard to believe that the man would accept marrying a woman he'd never even seen. Everything about this seemed impossible, but the son also liked your photo and approved of you. It's a miracle someone liked you given your looks. You're lucky. For the first time, my father looked me in the eyes, his face beaming with a grin. He liked me? That's impossible. I've always been called unfortunate looking. For someone to like that, it must be someone quite desperate or someone with no options. Or perhaps they're planning something even more sinister with me. There has to be a catch. I wanted to say no, but before I could, he threatened. "If you make a fuss, I'll throw you out," and I had no choice but to stay silent. Thus, I was coerced into signing the marriage registration. My sister watched, clapping her hands and laughing joyously at my plight. It was the moment I cursed my own weakness and the fact that I was born into this family. Thus, I found myself legally bound to some man, significant or not, I wasn't sure. And I hadn't even seen his face. I was dragged to a new home prepared by his parents. And met my husband Aaron for the first time. Aaron, 10 years my senior, was a plain-looking man, not exactly dull, but without much spirit. I wasn't in a position to criticize others' looks. But he certainly wasn't someone I could fall in love with at first sight. It turned out Aaron also had a strained relationship with his parents. My in-laws were glad he was moving out, saying, "We were also fed up with him. This marriage does us a favor." Oh, we were indeed a match made in rejection. Realizing this made me feel incredibly empty. Our married life began without desire, and for the first month, we barely spoke. Except for morning greetings and saying goodnight. We ate separately, and I tried to avoid any interaction. But one day, Aaron said something unexpected. "I realize you don't think highly of me. You were probably tricked by your parents into this marriage." Huh? He was right, but I was at a loss for how to respond honestly. Sensing my hesitation, he smiled gently. "You don't have to answer. But truly, I liked your photo when I saw it." "No, that's impossible. I can't believe anyone would prefer me. My sister is much prettier." "No matter what you say, I felt a connection when I saw you. After marrying, I feel even stronger about this. Maybe it's because our situations are similar. I was drawn to your personality." I was speechless. His sincere gaze and words didn't seem like a lie. Having never even experienced first love, I was utterly confused. Is there really such a way to love someone? If you dislike it, you can decide to divorce. I've prepared the paper. But, if you're willing, why don't we start as friends? He offered with a bashful smile, and for a moment, my heart fluttered, a secret I still keep. But then, I felt moved by his offer to start as friends instead of as spouses. Gradually, we began to share meals. There was no formal agreement. And even after discovering his kindness, it took time to warm up to him. Slowly, we started having conversations beyond greetings, discussing the weather. And learning each other's preferences. The invisible walls between us thinned. And before we knew it, we were eating together and watching TV. Turns out, we both loved books and shared many interests. As Aaron had initially said. Both of us having been treated as burdens by our parents. We found our values and thoughts aligned. Making each other's company the most comfortable. After living together for a year, then two, by the 4th year, Aaron proposed. And we truly became a couple. Odd to propose after being legally married? Maybe, but we were always an odd pair. We carefully rebuilt our relationship step by step, skipping nothing. 10 years passed without our parents ever checking in, and amidst peaceful days, we had a child. I was living happily, believing my life wasn't a waste after all. Then, news broke of a famous celebrity getting arrested. Allegedly involved in a crime with another celebrity, stirring up the media daily. Though it should have been a world unrelated to us. My sister's name unexpectedly appeared among those implicated in a scandal. She held the title of actress, but currently had no work. And was barely active in the entertainment industry. Merely affiliated with an agency and occasionally doing what amounted to extra work. Despite her lack of renown as an actress, her notoriety as a criminal was suddenly on the rise. Photographs had captured her following closely behind a famous actress. Entering a venue crowded with shady-looking men adorned in intricate tattoos. While she managed to navigate the situation without facing charges, the visuals left no doubt in anyone's mind. She appeared undeniably involved in questionable activities. The photo linking her to the crime was leaked by a classmate who worked at the night venue and had disliked my sister. This classmate had secretly snapped a photo of my sister entering a suspicious venue and spread it among friends, quickly going viral before being sold to a magazine, causing the uproar. As her sister, all I could think was, well, that figures. I thought I had no involvement anymore, But then, suddenly, my parents showed up at my door. My mother, once beautiful, now emaciated and gray-haired, clung to me crying, "Help us, Erica. What are you doing here?" "I don't remember ever being in a position to help," I replied coldly. "We have no one else to turn to." Huh? Seeing my confusion, my father took it upon himself to start explaining. Recently, it seems, my sister had been arrested. Being a relatively unknown actress, her arrest hadn't made the news. And I hadn't heard about it either. It's true what they say, walls have ears. And apparently, my sister's classmates had keenly picked up on information that even I, her sister, was unaware of. The news hadn't been broadcasted, but rumors had embellished the story. And now, her misdeeds were common knowledge in our neighborhood. As a result, my parents found themselves ostracized. Almost like being shunned from the village. Our family home was now subject to vandalism, stone throwing, and silent prank calls. As the community reacted to my sister's alleged crimes. "We can't live there anymore. Why did she do this? We should have never had her. You are my only daughter." With those words, my mother broke down and embraced me. "Please, we can't live in that house anymore. Let us stay here. Let's live happily together." How dare they ask this of me? I quietly took hold of my mother's shoulders and detached her from myself. Erica. Live happily? I don't recall ever doing that with you. What are you saying? We were a happy family. That's right, Erica. The two of them looked confused at my words, clearly conveying their desire not to upset me further. A happy family wouldn't have forced me into this marriage. You sold me for the sake of my sister. You're still in this house, so you must be continuing as a couple, right? All's well that ends well. His laughter infuriated me, and I impulsively pushed him away. Don't joke. What do you mean all's well that ends well? It's only good because Aaron turned out to be a decent person. What if he had been a terrible human being? I would have been living in hell. What do you think people's lives are? A family built on someone's sacrifice deserves to break. My voice rose in anger, and I couldn't help the tears that followed. Aaron, who had quietly stood by my side, gently took my hand. Well, forgiving people is important too, Erica. My father's attempt to sound fatherly while wearing a cheap grin only fueled my anger further. I lashed out with words I had held back for too long. Well then, why don't you both live with your respective lovers if forgiving is so important? Forgive each other's mistakes. My words left them stiffened. They turned pale and looked at each other in shock. Huh, what? Did you think I didn't know? Both of you have been cheating, haven't you? It seems you didn't realize you were betraying each other. Indeed, both parents had lovers on the side. They probably thought their affairs were secret, but my sister and I had been aware. Their marital bond was just as broken as their parenting. Are you saying you betrayed me? My mother shouted. And you did the same, retorted my father. I watched their marital mudslinging coldly. When I mockingly suggested, forgiving is important, right? Stop fighting and just forgive each other. They fell silent, unable to retort. I don't want to be involved in your farce anymore. Don't ever contact me again. Go to hell for all I care. I'm no longer bound by you. I vented years of pent-up anger. They were shocked to realize their mutual betrayal, and pleaded desperately for my forgiveness. How ugly. Naturally, I rejected their pleas, declaring, if you bother me again, I'll take action. I said it to show strength, though I hadn't thought through what action to take. Police wouldn't care, but anyway, showing strength matters. Whether my words had an effect or not. They got the message and slumped dejectedly on the roadside. Let's go inside, Aaron urged, leading me back into our house. After a while, I could hear them sobbing and calling my name outside. But I never opened the door again. A month later, I heard that my parents' home was burned in a suspicious fire. Whether related to my sister's case or not, the culprits weren't caught. But the vandalism made it clear it was targeted. Despite the revelation of their affairs, my parents didn't divorce. My mother, once proud of her looks, suffered burns that scarred slightly. And perhaps because of this or some other reason, my father one day left without a word, abandoning her. My mother took it as a rejection due to her marred beauty, and hardly went out anymore. They had always been adulterous, and it seemed more like they were tired of each other than anything else, but who knows? I probably knew my father better than my mother ever did. My father had been financially ruined trying to promote my sister in the entertainment world. He lost his job and was burdened with debt. After serving a year and a half in prison, my sister ended up in shady videos. Rumored to be mentally unstable, but that was no longer my concern. What goes around, comes around, I guess, and I'd watch their fate from afar. Meanwhile, I'm blessed with 4 children and lead a busy life. The youngest were twins, which was particularly challenging. Since we were both high school graduates, we worried if we could support 4 kids. However, we both earned certifications, and now I work in medical administration. And he is a manager in a merit-based and progressive call center. Back then, I studied while I was pregnant and raising children. And he supported me immensely while he was job hunting. I cannot thank him enough. I'm proud of this marriage, despite its odd start. And perhaps I even owe thanks to those 2 for it. My husband still treasures me like a lover. And we occasionally go on dates like young lovebirds, to movies or cafes, which are precious times for us because we didn't have such experiences before we married. Moving forward, I hope we continue to cherish and support each other and our family. I live each day with the hope that tomorrow will be another happy day.